There are a lot of bullets that were good for subsonic 300 Blackout, but when you want expansion, enter Hornady's SUB-X subsonic expanding bullets. Gavin here from ultimatereloader.com. Literally just yesterday, I got my hand on my first batch of SUB-X bullets. These are Hornady 30 cal, 190 grain SUB-X bullets, and I wanted to put them to the test as soon as possible, which I did today. And I want to share those results with you. Before we get into that, let me talk about my loading setup and my rifle. So this is an Anderson manufacturing upper in 300 Blackout, 1-in-8 twist. I've got a Silencer Co. hybrid suppressor here. This is a full auto lower that I manufactured using an Aero Precision lower receiver. Now, I'm specially licensed for this, and I'm doing the appropriate work, so don't try that at home, but it is an absolute load of fun. On the loading side, I've got the Hornady Lock and Load AP 5-station progressive reloading press. I've got some brass here. This is Federal brass. We're using CFE BLK, which has the copper fouling eraser. This has worked really good. Now, since I have 190 grain bullets here, what I thought I would do with the ballistics gel was do a side-by-side using a hollow point standard jacketed bullet, like a hollow point boat tail. I've got some Mid-South Shooter Supply match monsters that have worked really good with 300 Blackout, and kind of put that side-by-side with the SUB-X 190s right below the speed of sound, so targeting about 1050 feet per second to see what was going to happen. And the load that I came up with was 12.0 grains of CFE BLK. I ran both the match monsters and the SUB-X bullets, both weighing 190 grains, over the chronograph with 5 shots each, and both were very close to the speed of sound, just under. So what I want to do next is to show you a quick demo of my loading setup for 300 Blackout. So first off, I've got the KMS squared UFO press light for the Hornady Lock and Load AP. This thing puts a ton of light on the subject matter, and specifically I'm looking at visual powder checks, which is super handy. Let me give you the station by station breakdown. In station number 1, we have a Sizer D primer. This is a Redding die, and I've backed it off a little bit. I've got brand new brass, but I want to make sure that my case necks are perfectly cylindrical. There's a little dent, there's any kind of imperfection. Yes, we can get that out by cramming the bullet down in there, but it's a lot more elegant to have those case necks perfectly punched with the expander ball. Station number 2 is empty. Station number 3 is our powder charge. Station number 4 is empty. And then in station number 5, I have a Redding competition cedar die. Thing I like about the Hornady Lock and Load AP is these quick change bushings. I actually have a separate cedar die on hand for the match monsters that's set for the perfect depth for that bullet. So as I was working at this load and testing things, I could just swap out this cedar die and switch between the 2 different 190 grain bullets. So each time we're gonna place a bullet at station number 4.5, get a half index up to station number 5, and then on the way down, you see sometimes we have to grab these out because of the high center of gravity. Pushing forward to prime in station number 2. Okay, another case goes in, another bullet goes at station number 4.5, half index to station number 5, boom, seat the bullet. And I've been manually withdrawing the rounds here just because of that wonky high center of gravity on there. After you get going, this is going to go pretty fast and be a nice, efficient workflow for loading 300 Blackout. And again, the Hornady Lock and Load AP, it's got a lot of great flexibility with how you can swap the dies out. I've got the number 16 223 shell plate here, and I've got several different loads I'm going to load when I'm done filming this video. I've got berries plated 220s and a bunch more of these SUB-X bullets. I think these SUB-X bullets will probably look really good on things like rock checks. Okay, so that gives you an idea of what it's like to load 300 Blackout on the Hornady Lock and Load AP. Next, let's set the stage for the ballistics gel tests. So first up with the ballistics gel was the 190 grain hollow point boat tail match monster. And I thought, hey, this thing's only going 1,000 feet per second thereabouts. We had actually exactly 1,014.8 feet per second with the 12 grains of CFE BLK. I'm just going to throw a brick of ballistics gel out and shoot it. Well, we did, and the bullet went clear through out the other side, and we couldn't find it. So then we thought, let's stack 2 ballistic gel blocks in series and take this test to do it again. And we did it again, and the bullet flew right out the top of the second block shortly after entering the second block. This was starting to get a little bit frustrating. So we took a third shot. I had 3 different paths through the trajectories through the ballistics gel. The third one went through the first block, started to go into the second block, yawed to the side, popped out the side, and went down on the ground. I looked around for quite a while, and I actually recovered the bullet. I have it right here. It's quite pristine, actually. And at this point, I thought, you know, no matter what we do, this bullet, as it's slowing down, is yawing, and it's just going to go out of the gel, out the bottom, out the sides, out the top. So I figured, since we have the bullet, we can see there's practically 0 deformation. I'm going to see what I have for a weight here. Bullet weight is 190.84. That is probably 0 loss of mass. Very, very clean bullet. So while this is a really good round, this is a really good bullet for shooting on steel, this is not going to do much damage if you're using it for defense or hunting or anything like that. And that is where we want to turn our attention to the SUB-X bullets. The 190 grain SUB-X bullets chronographed slightly faster at 1,088.6 feet per second with the same 12.0 grain charge of CFE BLK. Not sure exactly what the difference was there, if it was a difference in the bearing surface of the bullet or what. The weights are pretty much identical, so a little bit of a mystery. But it didn't matter as much with the Match Monster bullet. With it penetrating so far and expanding not at all, it's not really a huge comparison. So this is exactly where I wanted to be, right under 1,100 feet per second. I got behind the rifle, got everything ready, pulled the trigger, shot went off perfectly, walked over to the ballistics gel blocks, not knowing what to expect. Well, this is what we saw right here. The SUB-X bullet went all the way through the front gel block and then stopped just a little ways into the second gel block. And from what I could see, the expansion looked really, really good. Let me take a moment to cut this bullet out of the ballistics gel. We'll get a diameter for our expansion and a weight retention factor. Fortunate for me, the bullet came to a stop just inside the second block. That made it very easy to tip the block up, cut it, use some pliers to extract it. I did notice the tip is still stuck in the ballistics gel, so the entire bullet stayed together. The tip remained lodged in the gel when I pulled the bullet out. Not a real big deal. Let's see what kind of weight retention we've got here. So the scale says 187.94. So we had less than, that's basically 188, a couple grains gone. That might be the tip itself. So that's really good. And then in terms of diameter for expansion, we have about 307 for the base of the bullet, which you would expect. And then we have, let's see, the widest spot is about 0.463, 0.470 on another spot. That's actually a little bit wider. So we had a good bit of expansion, and you can see the molten lead flowing over the petals. The petals are all symmetrically folded over. I'm really impressed with this. I would say that is an outstanding result. One more note, for my testing, which I conducted using both a 20-round steel magazine and a PMag 20, I noticed that there was some issues with the steel magazine. You can see it's straight along the front here. When the bullet is pushed forward, depending on how many rounds I had in, the more rounds I had in, the more there was a tendency for that nose to become caught on that front surface. If you look at the PMag, it's cut lower here. And so those actually fed better with these bullets, but if you have really heavy pointed bullets, like the Barry's 220 grain 300 Blackout subsonic bullets, you don't quite have enough room for the tip. And Magpul does make a dedicated 300 Blackout subsonic magazine for those long, pointed, super heavy 220 grain-ish bullets. And that's something I'm going to try next. I wish you all could try this rifle. This thing is so dang fun. Semi-auto, full auto, it's just an absolute hoot. And this Anderson Manufacturing upper has been a real good runner with a lot of different ammo that I've put through it. Haven't tested the accuracy at 100 yards, but honestly, I've used it mostly for steel at close range, and it is just absolutely fun for that. So here's my question for you is, what are you loading for 300 Blackout subsonic, and have you tried the SUB-X bullets, these 190s? Please drop a comment, share your experiences, and we'll start a discussion. That concludes this video, and that means it's time to wrap it up. I hope you liked this video. If you did, please give it a big thumbs up. Also, make your voice heard. If you have something to say, please drop a comment. Make sure you're subscribed with notifications because you're not going to want to miss the awesome content that is coming up. And finally, flex your reloading pride. You could look great in one of these t-shirts. We've got multiple designs at the Ultimate Reloader store. I'll see you later because I'm off to go shooting.